Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Poets and Quants and Center Court's Executive MBA Admissions Festival. Today, we're joined by an alum and admissions official from the EMBA program at Kennesaw, excuse me, Kennesaw State's Cole College of Business. I'm your host, Christy Blyzeffer of Poets and Quants. Please feel free to use the Q&A function to submit any questions you have, and I'll do my best to get to those at the end of the session. So let's begin by getting to know our panelists. Please just take a minute to introduce yourself, and we'll start with you.
Thanks. My name is Will Chilvers. I am a graduate of the EMBA 2024 year. Yeah, it's been that long now.
Okay.
It seems both a lifetime ago and like it was only yesterday. I am a director of radiology services at Northside Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. I have been with Northside for coming up on 15 years now this November. Prior to that, I was with Emory Healthcare for 3 years. And so I considered the majority of my professional working experience to be that of a healthcare administrator. Prior to that, I did my undergraduate at Coles College of Business as well in management. And so I considered myself to be somewhat of a unique individual in at least my space, which is that of clinical operations. Been in Atlanta since 2002 now. And prior to getting into healthcare, I was actually in residential construction for about 7 years. So a little bit of an interesting background on that front. How that all came to be is a much longer story, but that's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, maybe that EMBA helped you pivot, huh? Or maybe you had pivoted before then, but Erin, how about you?
Thanks, Christy. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin McGerald. I'm the Associate Director of the EMBA program here at KSU. I've been with the program for a little over 10 years now. My role is mainly for admissions and recruitment and alumni engagement, and I'm happy to be here and tell you more about our program.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it, Erin. Tell us kind of the nuts and bolts of the Cole Executive MBA, and share some about, Cole's mission and vision and what sets your institution apart.
Sure, happy to share more about our school. So, here at the Coles College of Business at Kennesaw State University, we've dedicated ourselves to be the highest value provider of business programs and talent in Metro Atlanta. Our faculty and staff are committed to the mission through experiential teaching, impactful research, proactive engagement with the business community. We focus on preparing our students not just for jobs, but for meaningful careers, really equipping them with the skills and the experiences and the confidence that they'll need to lead in our economy. Our namesake is Michael J. Coles. He is a serial entrepreneur who embodies these values. We honor him by placing strategic emphasis on innovation, relevance, and student success. Here at Coles College of Business, we offer cutting edge programs like a master's in fintech, a master's in healthcare management and informatics. We maintain strong graduate placement rates and provide our students with hands-on opportunities through internships, consulting projects, and leadership development. And Kennesaw is located just north of Atlanta, so we benefit from close ties to one of the nation's most dynamic business hubs, where over 80% of all financial transactions run through. So our reputation for excellence is built on a foundation of academic rigor, diversity, real-world engagement, and it's really just a place where students not only learn, but they thrive.
Very good. Thank you so much. Well, Will, why don't we go back a little bit to your kind of origin story? What was some of the decision making process when you were looking at an MBA, and kind of what really led you to an executive MBA?
Yeah, I thought about pursuing an MBA for pretty much ever since I graduated from my undergraduate program. And in fact, I even started my MBA at Coles College in the traditional manner immediately out of my business program in 2007. For a few reasons, I ended up dropping out of that very early in that program. part of which being that I was fresh out of school. I had just started a new job. I didn't really know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go or why I was even doing it at that point.
Right.
And over the years, I was encouraged by my family, by my friends, by my job to pursue a master's. Never with really any particular insight as to why, other than that's just what you're supposed to do, right? It's especially when you, I guess, go the route of a business degree. It's the MBA is the logical next step. If you want to progress, the usual encouragement is just go on and take over the world, right? It's kind of what nobody knows what that means. Nobody knows what you want to do or what you're going to be good at, but they're like, that should be the end goal. Never really agreed with that, but that's part of the reason why it just sort of didn't align with me at that time. So over the years, through different opportunities, I looked at various programs throughout the Atlanta area. I have 2 young kids, and they were born here. They're growing up here. Their life is here, and so I'm kind of committed to this market. So that's what I was looking at, and I just sort of carried on going to those. What do you call them? These informational sessions for the different programs. I explored different types of master's programs, like a master's in construction. And in the end, I started to realize as my career progressed that there were gaps. There were sort of knowledge areas that I was more interested in that I just didn't really have the knowledge of. I didn't have the education in. I had sort of a foundation. I knew enough to be dangerous, as they say, but I really didn't know what I didn't know. And I know everybody loves that. You got to know what you don't know, which doesn't really make sense, but that's what we like to say, right? So, so I started exploring more seriously, and I attended an information session for the EMBA program. I know some folks that had participated in it previously and strongly encouraged it. And I very much enjoyed that session. And then ultimately, a friend of mine, a long-term friend of mine, who we didn't do the same degree program, but we graduated at the same time, we both sort of decided that we were going to do it together. And that was along with all those other things, was sort of the final input that said, all right, you do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, you do it, right? And that's how I ended up signing up for the program.
Was there something about Kohl's specifically, as opposed to, a lot of EMBA options around Atlanta?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the executive team building focus of it all. I've always been a big fan of leadership and leadership development. And so I wanted it to be sort of all encompassing in that regard. One of the things I'm most proud of in my career is seeing those that I've worked with over the years and seeing them grow and progress and move on to bigger and better things. And I'd like to think that being a part of my team at some point has impacted them in some meaningful way. And so that was a big focus of the program. The personal and professional development track, although I wasn't completely clear of what that meant, the idea of having a coach and a mentor assigned to me personally throughout the duration of the program was very appealing. And we can touch on a little bit later with one of these other questions about how meaningful that was, as well as the dedicated resources to the EMBA candidates. So the dedicated faculty, the dedicated program managers and directors, the dedicated classroom areas, all of that was very appealing and I think immensely helpful just throughout the entire thing, not only the academia component of it all, but the actual participating in and completing all those just sort of little things that help you along the way when you are already so busy. I found very, very helpful and very encouraging. I really enjoyed the opening and closing residencies.
Yeah.
Those were sort of presented during the program as a huge sort of opportunity, and you don't really realize that until you're in it, but the opportunity to spend 24 hours a day for those periods of time with these people that you then spend 18 to 19 months with, and then to get to go on this international residency with that same group of people that you've been experiencing this program with for the last 18 months was just, I can't even say enough about how amazing that was. And I wish I could do it every year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Erin, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, and then just I was going to say, sorry, I know that was a long answer to a short question, but the weekend class schedules were a really big deal for me as well. Being a working professional, the ability to participate fully in the program outside of my work schedule was a huge part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Erin, let's get into a little bit more the scheduling and other specifics of the program. Tell us about, the average class size, format, schedule, those kinds of things.
Sure, happy to. And as Will alluded to, our program follows a cohort model. So we typically enroll about 40 to 45 students each year. And this size is intentional. So it's large enough to ensure diverse perspectives and experiences, but small enough to foster that deep collaboration, allowing for personalized coaching and strong professional relationships. And unlike with traditional MBA programs, the EMBA program doesn't offer formal concentrations or tracks. So we have a comprehensive integrated curriculum that really just blends all of the core business disciplines together, like strategy and finance, marketing, operations, leadership, global business, and it's all blended into every course and assignment that you're taking throughout the 18 months of the program. This approach can ensure that our students are developing cross-functional thinking, that they can tackle problems from a CEO's perspective, and that they can learn to lead across departments and industries.
Absolutely. Well, Will, tell us a little bit about, the academic experience, what kind of the classroom feel was, and if there were any standout moments that you really remember.
Yeah, I mean, just sort of to carry on from what Erin was saying, it's impressively broad. It really does kind of cover everything that you'd expect from accounting and finance and marketing. And then surprising things like executive coaching and data analytics and statistics. I'm a big data analytics nerd, always have been, and not really sure how I landed in that in my work environment, but I've been the data steward at both professional organizations that I've worked in for my respective department. And so I really appreciated that and had no idea to expect it. So I think that from an individual to sort of a team perspective, it was a good balance. You're sort of eased into it in the early days. I think it was not surprisingly, yet also surprisingly in the environment that we were in, that it was a big shock to everybody just how much team you were going to rely on your team throughout the course of the program. Not only for team assignments, but even your sort of own individual success as part of the program. And I think that was very much by design. And you start off with a lot of individual assignments in the early semesters, and then you grow to where the last semester is almost entirely team-based. And that it worked very well. You get to know your team very well. You get to appreciate one another and rely on one another, which is, I think what everybody was worried about in the early days. Because when you don't know somebody, that you don't know this team of people, like, oh my gosh, how is this going to work? But it was built very well. We were encouraged, we were led, and we were, I think, all very successful in our own respective teams. I think I developed from a standout learning moments. I developed a far greater appreciation for accounting and finance than I ever had originally. I don't know that they were my strong suits per se, and I've always been in operations. And so we've always had people for that, if you will. We have our own finance departments and accounting departments and such that we rely on. But getting the in-depth education on how that all works, personally for me, gave me a far greater appreciation for it than I had ever had. And Aaron sort of alluded to this, the immense importance of the sort of intermodality of it all in the real world really became apparent. It was displayed in a way that gave me a much greater appreciation for the importance of the sort of ecosystem, if you will, of business as a whole, in a way that, although I knew it existed, I really didn't have a great grasp on it. And the program really kind of brought it all together to show you how they all were necessary. And it was kind of funny, every professor said in some sort of joking manner how theirs was the most important business of the business modalities, which always got a little bit of a chuckle, but it really is true that they seem all necessary, and they all do link together into the way the Coles College EMBA faculty were able to sort of provide that roadmap of how they all came together was, I thought, very well thought out, very well designed.
Yeah, it's an important point. Like nobody's working in a silo, and if you are, things are getting, missed in the kind of the real world of work. Aaron, tell us a little bit. What do you think is the, maybe the defining characteristic of the EMBA? What makes it special?
Sure. I think there's a few characteristics. One of our differentiators that Will talked about is our team-based learning model. And we do program long teaming. So when you start the program, you're put onto a team. It's a diverse, high-performing team, and you have to learn how to work with this team because they are going to be with you for the entire 18 months of the program. It's really going to simulate the real-world executive environment. This will help with leadership and communication, strategic thinking skills, and you really can't replicate that in a traditional program. Will also talked about our one-on-one coaching, another differentiating factor that we offer. Each student is paired with an executive coach. They work with them throughout the program. They provide strategic guidance throughout their program. And as we've also been talking about our curriculum, so our global and strategic focused curriculum that emphasizes strategy and innovation, decision making, and culminating with that international experience that Will mentioned. His class got to go to Chile for that, right, Will? And that really does help to broaden all of their perspectives. And one more point is our flexible format that's really designed for working professionals. We have a true weekend format where students attend class one weekend a month on Saturday and Sunday, and that really helps to support their work-life balance.
Absolutely. Well, moving to outside the classroom a little bit, Will, tell me about the opportunities to connect with Coles, the Kennesaw University, network with your fellow students. What are some of those opportunities that you took advantage of?
Yeah, I mean, we were encouraged to take advantage of any and all opportunities that were available to us. And one of the things that I was surprised by was how we not only interacted with one another and within our cohort, but also with cohorts past and future. We had opportunities to meet with people that were considering the program. And we also had opportunities to interact on both sort of a professional kind of standpoint as well as socially. And although a lot of times you think in these types of programs that you're just going to come in and do the classwork and then everybody goes home and carries on with their lives, it really does lend itself more to the regular and sort of constant interaction with both your team and your cohort mates throughout the program, both as you start to understand one another's professional aspirations and things they're doing in their personal lives, where everybody sort of comes from and where they're trying to go. You start to meet people outside of your own cohort, outside of your own team that you have a lot in common with. And I was just immensely impressed with how well we all got along, how we interacted, how we communicated constantly and interacted with others. It was a really nice surprise for me just to be able to do that. And I said to everybody as we were leaving, you know, a lot of us were ready to be done as you get towards the end of something like this, as you can imagine. But how the way it brought everybody together and everybody had a common goal is so rare in life, because even in a lot of professional environments, you have different goals. As you sort of touched on earlier, you're often a little bit siloed. And you know, your finance team might have a slightly different goal than your marketing team, have a slightly different goal than your operations team, and so on and so forth. This really was, you know, 40-ish people in a room Saturday and Sunday that all had the common goal of completing this journey together.
Yeah.
And we all wanted everyone in the room to be successful and do anything and everything we could to help them get there. And it was an amazing feeling, and it's really difficult to replicate and kind of sort of explain that outside of the environment. But it has been missed since, even though the workload was immense. The sort of interaction of us all was just a wonderful experience, and I can't recommend it enough.
Have you been able to keep up with some of your classmates? Like, or have the relationships continued?
Yeah, we my team, we still have our group chat going, and
Nice.
we're yeah, and some of us have even gotten together. There are people from outside of my team that I've stayed in touch with as well for both personal reasons, because we just got along so well and had so much in common, and then also for professional reasons, because we're in the same environment. We're in healthcare. There are actually quite a few people from healthcare that were in my cohort, and it's been really nice to keep up. There's been a little bit of interaction on the 2024 cohort group chat, which has been nice to see. And then we've also had opportunities to interact with the current cohorts through different alumni events, and been doing my best to stay in touch with all of that. So
Yeah.
it's been great.
Well, Erin, you know, the EMBA, you're working with people that are balancing demanding professional work life, rigorous schoolwork now, and then families. What kind of support does Coles offer in that regard?
Yeah, and the program is very specific about how they've designed it to allow students to balance work, life, and academics. Our students are provided with a team coach, the individual coach that we mentioned. They have full professor support by faculty who teach only in our EMBA program, which is huge. And with our classes meeting just one weekend a month, it allows students to maintain their full-time careers while pursuing their degree and still allow for some bit of balance throughout their life. The predictable schedule helps them plan around for their work and their personal commitments. As Will mentioned, having that team structure to support you, provide peer support. And our courses, the way they're integrated and strategically sequenced, they build upon each other, which kind of eliminates any redundancy and maximizes their learning efficiency.
Yeah. Well, Will, what was the one biggest, you know, help for you in that balance? What's the one tip you would have for others considering doing an EMBA?
I think my main thing that I was going to say is I'm not sure the balance is the word. Everyone always talks about balance. I think that the shift in the scales is pretty significant when you take something like this on, and to say otherwise is probably naive. But and I think you mentioned the word earlier. It is sort of an intense, rigorous. I think you said rigorous is very true, but it was manageable, right? And I think that that's the biggest part of it, and it's sort of something that you don't really know about yourself, and I think this is one of those opportunities in life to push yourself to do more than you know you're capable of doing, and that is something that makes it so much more satisfying at the end of it all. But I think in terms of the program itself, it's the flexibility of it, right?
Mhm.
The one weekend a month, while that is relatively inflexible, you know it well in advance. You have all the information you need to work your life around that schedule. But then everything else to do with it, you'll probably have a sort of set schedule with your team, and that's quite frankly one of the most difficult things to come up with at the very beginning of the program. Is like, okay, when are we all going to meet every week for the
Yeah.
next 19 months? And you
Mhm.
don't realize how difficult it is to get 5, 6, 7 people together at the same time every week for that extended period of time. And you work with your team, and you get through that, and you eventually come up with something that works. And 95% of the time everybody meets at the same time, and you get the work done that needs to get done. But outside of that, the reading, the assignments, you can do the assignments on Sunday night after school and have it turned in, even though it's not due until, next Friday or 2 weeks from Friday or whatever it is. Or if you're like me, you can wait until the night before it's due and you can knock it out. But it really is very flexible in that regard. You have everything you need, you know what's coming. There's no last minute surprises like, oh, I need this from you in 2 days, unlike in the professional environment where you get that all the time.
Mhm.
And so it really is nice to be able to sort of work that part of it around your life. If
Yeah.
you're a late night worker, if you're an early morning person, if you want to be able to attend your kids' events, or you have a arduous work schedule, for the most part, you work most of the program around your schedule.
That's great. Well, considering that you're talking to viewers who are looking at different EMBA programs, that are maybe considering whether to do an EMBA and considering what program would be right for them. What are some of the key takeaways from your time at Colesville? Like, what are the moments that you tell people when they ask about it?
Um, I think the um, biggest surprise for me that I knew was part of the program, but I really didn't know what to expect from it, was the sort of personal and professional development track component of it. I expected the sort of business modalities of it all, the finance, the accounting, the marketing, um, all of those things. But the coach and the mentor and the track that we went down that kind of began with a personal mission statement
Yeah.
uh, is something that I think brought on a lot more introspective thinking than I had ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Um, and I really wasn't expecting it. And so much so that I actually signed up and participated in being a coach for a EMBA student, EMBA
Yeah.
candidate this past year. And I really enjoyed that. Um, so that was a kind of a real pleasant surprise. I think that it was a lot. It was another assignment, that was due before every class weekend. And like I said, it wasn't so much here's an assignment, go through the questions and answer them and read the book and figure. It really was this sort of deep introspection that you don't really get a lot of opportunity to think on that much, I don't think. So I really enjoyed that. Um, it was another example of an opportunity in life to prove that I'm capable of doing hard things.
Yeah.
Uh, it's really difficult to fully understand just um, how much there is to a program like this, how much learning there is, how much opportunity there is to grow. The sort of meeting others and meeting them where they are and helping them along the way, and asking others for help that are more experienced in certain areas of it. Maybe those are all things that I really was surprised by and enjoyed. And then I think I mentioned it earlier, but the immense satisfaction that came with partaking in this journey with a group that all had this common goal together, it's something that I now strive to recreate in my own workplace with my own team, to say, look, there's nothing quite like having this common goal that we're all working towards. So let's define that and then let's go after it.
Oh, wow. Talk about impact.
Yeah.
Aaron, tell us, the viewers, what's the best way to connect with Kohl's if they really want to kind of dive in and learn more?
Oh, well, they can start off by going to our website, ksuemba.com. They can contact me through LinkedIn. They can reach out to me through email or phone. Or like Will mentioned, they can attend one of our info sessions. We have them both virtually and in person. The in-person ones are typically on a class weekend. So that's a really great experience to see what it's like for the students in person. Join us for lunch. The food's wonderful. And maybe even sit in on a class and understand what it's like to be an EMBA student at KSU.
Yeah, there's no better way to really get the feel for it than to kind of see it all in action. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for taking the time and sharing these great insights. And thanks to our viewers out there for tuning in. And be sure to watch panel sessions like this from a number of top schools throughout today and on our website. And as always, go to poetsandquants.com for other, for informative articles, videos, and much more to help you choose the program that's the right fit for you. And until next time, see you later.